Hello, everyone. Welcome to the premiere episode of a new series that I am going to be doing here on Neo Astrology. It's called Draconic Deep Dives. And basically, I'm going to be looking at kind of this being a sacred space where we're going to reconnect with kind of that eternal language of our souls. For those who don't know me already, I am Deborah Holliday. I am an astrologer and I am the founder of the Neo Astrology Group. And I am very honored to guide you guys through the ancient and intuitive wisdom of Draconic astrology. This isn't just a series, it's kind of, I'm hoping to be a journey of remembering. In each episode, we're going to explore how your Draconic chart reveals your soul's perspective, your deeper purpose, your emotional memory, the energetic signature you carry across lifetimes. And I'll be bringing the charts to life, hopefully, through real examples and comparisons with tropical astrology and stories, hopefully, that will kind of stir everybody's heart. If you haven't yet watched the Intro to Draconic Astrology webinar that I did on this channel some months back, I highly recommend that you start there. All right. It gives you the foundational tools to create and understand your own draconic chart so you can follow along more personally and powerfully as we go through these episodes in the future. Right. As this series unfolds, I'm going to touch on everything from soul connections and relationships to karmic activations through transits to just the mysterious inner influence of the inner and outer planets and our recarnational patterns and all of those things. And I'm hoping to, in between the episodes, to do what I call kind of a bonus content where I'm going to be looking at some soul chart spotlights. Um, I'm going to be doing like mini readings on perhaps well-known public figures whose life paths reflect clear soul themes, or maybe that we're kind of curious as to things that are going on in society now, how the individual's natal tropical chart is aligning with their draconic soul chart. And I'm also going to be doing mini readings for those of you who are viewers and if you submit your chart. Um, so take a breath. If you've got your draconic chart, open it up and open up your heart because this is where we are going to start this soul story. I'm going to share this with you, this knowledge that I have. And I will be honest, I am deeply in love with Draconic astrology. Um, your soul has stories to share, and this is just the beginning. All right, let's get going. All right. So, first episode is Soul Echoes, and it's basically interpreting, we're going to be looking at the Draconic Sun, Moon, and Rising. In this first episode, we begin our journey into what I call the Soul Trinity, which is our Draconic Sun, Moon, and Rising. These are three powerful placements that unveil the essence of who you've always been. These aren't just symbols on a chart, they're windows into your eternal self. Together, we're going to explore how these soul signatures reflect your inner blueprint and how they contrast with your tropical chart to reveal kind of the deeper dance going on between your soul and yourself. All right. So let's discover what this celestial map is saying. Let's look at the language of the soul. All right. So we're going to start off with the Draconic Sun. Um, think of this as the spiritual spotlight. This is like the radiant center where your soul naturally shines without effort or ego. And while the tropical sun speaks to your identity in this lifetime, the draconic sun reveals the eternal flame of your soul. It's the essence of who you have always been and long before this incarnation. Okay. It's your core soul intention. Think of it as the golden thread kind of weaving through every lifetime, every incarnation, pulling you towards your divine mission, right? We have to pay close attention to the house placement of this sun because that's where this soul purpose wants to play out. Okay. A draconic sun, say in the 10th house, that would be maybe someone whose soul might be striving to leave a legacy, maybe take on a leadership role or become visible in a way that is transcending just this lifetime. Okay, something that transcends beyond just this one occurrence. It's going forward into the future occurrences. How about the aspects? Those are going to be your karmic, what I like to call choreographers. If your draconic sun is entangled with, say, Pluto or Uranus or Neptune, then you're carrying really deep generational soul contracts, okay? Missions that are cosmic in scale and collective in impact. For example, if your draconic sun is in Pisces, your soul's here to evolve through compassion, healing, maybe dream work, mysticism, right? You carry a sacred knowing that the material world is just a veil and you're going to be here to lift it. Okay. So when we ask, why did my soul choose to shine in this particular way? The draconic sun answers not with ego, but with purpose, with memory, and with mission. Okay. All right. Now let's sink into the soul's emotional ocean, which is the draconic moon. All right. This isn't just how you feel, it's how your soul remembers feeling across lifetimes. All right. It holds the emotional imprint of your soul's past, echoing through instinct and reaction and memory. And so we're talking about ancient feelings. It could be feelings of grief, devotion, betrayal, ecstasy, things that have shaped your inner world far beyond this incarnation. Okay. The sign of your draconic moon reveals your soul's emotional tone. For instance, if you've got a draconic moon in Scorpio, that's a soul that has danced with shadow, with death, with rebirth. It's got power dynamics and trust wounds and emotional extremes. This soul has walked through fire and it remembers every last step. Maybe in past lives, this person was a shaman or an alchemist, or maybe the one who held space for transformation in the dark. Okay. Now, another consideration that's very important is the house placement. That shows where these memories still live, where you instinctively navigate emotional karma in this life. So let's say you've got a fourth house draconic moon. It might replay ancestral or family themes, while if it was the 11th house, it might be carrying emotional ties from maybe past soul groups or communities. Okay. And if your draconic moon is at odds with your tropical moon, that's an emotional dissonance. It's kind of a tug of war between your soul's instinct and your current personality's emotional habits. And you know what happens then? That's not only an okay thing, it's an expected thing. Remember, you're integrating lifetimes of emotional truth with the person that you're becoming now. Okay. So it's okay if there's some dissonance in between your draconic planets and your tropical planets, right? Aspects, when we're talking about the draconic moon, this is going to help us to clarify the story. It's going to help answer questions like, are you repeating an old emotional loop? Or are you finally rewriting these loops? The draconic moon is our soul's heart memory. And by listening to it, you're listening to the echoes of 1,000 emotional lifetimes. Okay. Now let's look at the Draconic rising. All right. The Draconic rising sign is arguably one of the most underrated placements in the chart. While your tropical ascendant reflects your personality's mask, how you instinctively present yourself to the world in this life, the Draconic ascendant is going to show your soul's wish to be seen when it's fully aligned, okay, when it's got full alignment. This is the energetic posture of a higher self. It's the way your soul naturally greets the world before the ego even gets involved. And so the sign on the Draconic ascendant is revealing the mode your soul prefers. It tells you kind of like its vibe and its rhythm. It gives you its essence. The house placement shows you the life territory where this expression is going to be most alive. Okay. When you say Draconic rising in Aries, all right, so you've got a Draconic rising in Aries. So this says that your soul shows up as bold and brave, maybe even a little fiery. This is a pioneering spirit in whatever field you're in. It's like you're a warrior or a trailblazer from some other lifetime. And so that courage, that impulse to lead and initiate is there. It's still woven into your soul's frequency. Even if your tropical rising is something that's way more reserved. Okay. That soul is woven in, and it has been a warrior and a trailblazer in other lifetimes. Right? Let's say that we've got somebody with a tropical Virgo rising and a Draconic Aries rising. Okay. This individual might appear meticulous, calm, maybe analytical on the surface. But underneath, there's a soul inside that person that's craving action and authenticity and freedom just to be. And that tension isn't a flaw, it's a signal. It's a dialogue between the soul's truth and the self's strategy. So don't skip over the Draconic rising when you look at your Draconic chart, because it tells you how your soul wants to move through this incarnation, not from a performance standpoint, but from a presence standpoint. Okay. All right. So let's take a moment to understand the soul level conversation that happens between these two systems. Okay. On one side, you've got the tropical side, which is like your personality blueprint. This is the chart of your current incarnation, your identity in this lifetime. Okay. This was the chart that when you were born, the stars were imprinted upon you at that moment. It reflects your conscious self. It reflects the way that you're going to grow and you're going to evolve and how you're going to engage with this 3D material world. Think of it as your becoming. Okay. When we look at the Draconic side, this is where we're going to be stepping into our soul essence. This chart is going to reveal your deeper memory. It's the truth of who you've always been across lifetimes. And it holds the vibration of your spirit's core lessons, of your spirit's longings, of your lived wisdom. And so think of it as your remembering. So your tropical chart is your becoming, and your Draconic chart is your remembering. These two are not opposites. They actually are allies because together they form a very sacred dialogue. The tropical is the self, and the Draconic is the soul. And so between them, your full evolutionary story unfolds, right? The beauty of this duality is that it always, how do I say this? It allows you to honor where you are and where you've always been. It's the growth through remembering and remembrance, and it has purpose through presence. Okay. All right. So when we think of our draconic sun, moon, and rising, this is your soul trinity. Okay. Each one holds a sacred piece of the puzzle. The sun is your divine mission, it's your why. The moon is your karmic memory, it's your how. And the rising is your interface, it's your way. So together, when you put them all together, when you make this soul trinity, they're forming a soul portrait. It's a map of how your eternal self is expressing itself through this lifetime container, this vessel that we are carrying our soul within. Okay. So remember, your draconic sun is your why. Your draconic moon is your how. And your draconic rising is your way. Okay. All right. I want to kind of take us into a fuller picture here. All right. I want to look at an actual chart. I want to kind of give you guys some example here. When in this picture, so that we know exactly what we're looking at, we have a, one second, let me turn my pen on here. We have the tropical chart on this side, and we have the draconic chart on this side. And I separated this out this way because I wanted you to be able to see the shifts. Okay, I wanted you to be able to see what was going on. So this is actually a full picture, if you think about it, because we have a tropical chart, which is showing who you are becoming in this lifetime for this individual. And then you have the draconic chart on the other side, which reveals who this soul has always been. So the draconic is telling us who this soul has been, and the tropical is telling us who this soul is becoming in this lifetime. Okay, so let's look a little more closely at the placements here of the sun, the moon, and the rising in these charts. Okay, so I'm going to look here at this draconic chart. Okay, I'm over here in this side. All right, so in this chart, we've got the draconic sun right here at 23 degrees Cancer. And it's placed in the 9th whole house sign of that natal chart. So we have to think about that. Okay. We're going over to the natal chart. If we team them up, it's going to bring it up here. Okay. So what we've got here is your soul essence in this chart is seeped in nurturing, in emotional wisdom, and in deep intuitive knowing. Okay. In this chart for this individual, Cancer here speaks to a purpose rooted in caregiving, ancestral healing, emotional safety. This individual is here not just to build homes, but to be a home for others. This placement in it being from the 9th house of the tropical is about expanding this soul's mission. It's not just an emotional, it's a spiritual mission. And so this soul is seeking truth through belief, philosophy, and perhaps even global or multicultural experiences. It's teaching or guiding others emotionally through spiritual insight, and it may be part of a sacred contract with someone. Okay, this soul may have had to have a sacred contract with someone that they're going to be encountering, where they're going to be teaching and guiding emotionally. All right. So next we're going to peek here at this draconic moon, all right, which is right here at 3 degrees Cancer. Now, I'm going to bring a little bit of picture here because I want you to see that the sun and the moon are in different signs in the tropical. But in the draconic, the sun and the moon are together. They're both in Cancer, all right, which means this moon is also in the 9th house. when we put it on top of this tropical chart. Okay. So what does this say? This amplifies everything that I just said. Now you have a double Cancer soul signature, and that is very powerful because you've got someone whose emotional memory runs really deep and it spanned lifetimes of care and protection and emotional stewardship for others. This soul is likely to carry soul memory of mothering roles, of nurturing others in sacred or spiritual communities. This is a moon that's going to speak of a soul that remembers how to feel and says that it's here to remind others how to feel safe doing the same. Okay, very powerful, right? And then we can't forget the ascendant because it's so important. So when we look at the ascendant in this chart, it's right here at 16° Pisces. Interesting. The sun in the tropical chart is at Pisces. Okay. So when we bring that alignment over, that means that the ascendant's going to be lying down here in this energy. All right, so let's talk about this Draconic Ascendant. All right, so we've got our Draconic Ascendant at 16° Pisces, which is very ethereal. This is a ethereal, mystical, very compassionate ascendant. This rising sign is coloring this soul's expression. It's going to talk about how this soul greets the world when ego has been completely removed. And so with Pisces in this place, this soul is going to move through life like a gentle wave. Think of the flowing. It's going to be very intuitive. It's going to have very blurred boundaries, and it's going to be deeply tuned into the emotional undercurrents of other people. It's going to be a soul that heals not through forcing, but simply through its presence. So this individual is likely to attract sensitive or spiritually curious people because this individual is sensing depth and light and openness. All right. It senses it in others and it senses it because it's what it's throwing off. This rising is throwing off depth and light and openness to what has not been seen. All right. So let's bring it together. Okay. I'm going to tie this together now. All right. So what is this soul's purpose? Emotional wisdom expressed through teaching, travel, and spiritual exploration. Right. What is this soul's memory? Lifetimes of caregiving and guiding others through emotional and spiritual places. Okay. A lot of very emotional and spiritual terrain in this soul's memory. And how is this soul expressing? Through Pisces and Pisces themes, art, dreams, compassion, creativity. This individual's not just here to feel, they're here to create beauty and get actually this beauty from the feelings that they're feeling. All right, that they get from the art and the dreams and the compassion and the creativity. So if we look at this chart, this is kind of a chart that reminds us, when you see this, that soul-centered astrology isn't just about data, it's literally sacred remembering. Okay, now I'm going to take this another layer. All right, because this is where our magic becomes very visible. I've taken them out of that dual and I've placed them into a bi-wheel. Okay, and so we're looking at, so that we're all on the same place before I start. Our inner wheel is the tropical wheel. All right. So that inner wheel is the tropical, the natal tropical chart for this individual, which is the same individual from the prior charts. The outer wheel is this individual's draconic chart. Okay. So we've got the tropical chart in the center, which is representing this current incarnation, and the draconic chart on the outer circle, which is mapping the soul's eternal story. Okay. So when the planets shift dramatically between these layers, you're witnessing the contrast between current growth and soul memory. And it's one of the most profound tools that I have found when looking at soul-centered astrology. Okay. It's like watching your higher self whisper to the evolving self. It's amazing. All right. Let's look and see what this chart says. And I'm going to continue to focus, although this chart says things other than this. We're just focusing on the Draconic Sun, the Draconic Moon, and the Draconic Rising. Okay. Those are my three focuses because that's what I'm focusing on at this moment. All right. So when we look at the Draconic Sun, remember it was at 23 degrees Cancer. It is actually squaring the natal Jupiter in this chart, which you see here. And actually in this chart, you have Jupiter and you have Chiron conjunct within just a few minutes. It's exact in degree. So that these Jupiter and Chiron speak very tightly in this chart together. Okay. So we've got our Draconic Sun at 23 Cancer squaring, which means there's some challenge there. That natal Jupiter, which is at 24 degrees Aries. Right. So that says to me that this soul is radiating that emotional wisdom and intuition and has a really deep need to nurture and to be nurtured. Okay. That's what I'm getting. But because of that square to Jupiter in Aries, this is a placement that's driven to act independently and to lead boldly and to expand fearlessly. All right. And with Chiron there, it's about healing. It's here to heal. All right. So you've got a lot of emotional wisdom and it's strong because it's got that Aries Jupiter energy that's pushing. All right. So this tension is not a flaw, not at all. This is a soul lesson. Remember that when you're looking at the draconic and tropical charts together, this is about a soul lesson when you have those squares. So the call here is to merge courage with compassion and to lead not just with strength, but with heart. And so this individual is learning how to protect and serve, how to initiate action that heals and doesn't harm people. And it thinks like a divine guardian energy. It's a warrior who fights with love. Okay. All right. Now let's look quickly at the draconic moon. All right. So we've got our draconic moon down here still. Here it is. It's up here. Remember, it's in Cancer. And we've got our natal moon down here in Aquarius. All right. So we've got draconic moon at 3 degrees Cancer versus natal moon at 18 degrees Aquarius. So here is a quieter, more subtle dissonance. All right. Because remember here, we are looking at a inconjunct, at a quincunx. Okay. So we know that there is some tension there. Not quite the tension of a square, but there's a misalignment going on here. All right. So this is a quieter and subtler dissonance. This soul is craving a closeness and emotional depth. It's close, looking at the safety of shared feelings, which is that Cancer moon. But with the earthly moon, that tropical moon in Aquarius, it says that it leans toward emotional detachment and objectivity and freedom. So you've got an earthly moon that is not completely in alignment with our soul moon. So what does this say? So as I said, this is a quincunx aspect. And so it's speaking of a misalignment, but not a conflict. This is more of a little bit of a discomfort. It's like you have two emotional languages trying to find a common ground. The soul is saying, feel everything. But the personality is saying, do I really have to? And the answer to the personality, the ego, is yes, but on your terms. Your growth, this individual's growth, is coming from blending emotional presence with healthy distance. Okay. Last but important spot to take a look at here is the ascendant. All right. So as I brought out when we were looking at them separated, the Draconic rising is at 16 Pisces, and it is with the sun. And just as a side note, you also have the Draconic Uranus here. So think about how that might play into this interpretation for this individual. Um, when we look at the Draconic rising at 16 degrees Pisces in this natal fifth house, in my opinion, this is beautiful because this soul presents as a very dreamy, mystical, and artistic individual. That Pisces rising in that Draconic chart is landing perfectly in that natal fifth house of joy and creativity and romance. And so this says that this soul approaches life in a very deeply intuitive and emotional way, but that it's here to create through sensitivity. And so this person is not just a feeler, they're a creator. And their light shines brightest when they're channeling dreams into art or love or play or things that they're very passionate about. Any project, they have passion. This says to me that this individual is here to beautify the world with their soul. Okay, beautiful, just gorgeous. And so this chart speaks of a soul that remembers softness in a world that often demands strength. And so this individual is a deep feeler. It's got that Cancer energy. And it's navigating a world that honors independence and action. It's the soul's challenge that we're thinking. And what is the soul's challenge? It's integration, because they're trying to navigate that Cancer Aries energy. This individual is here to create from emotion, to heal through being present, and through embodying an empathetic courage for people. All right. This is revolutionary work this soul has, because there's nothing soft about aligned intuition. This is a very fierce and powerful and transformational chart. You see love and connection and creativity being sacred tools for this person. And it helps them to bridge the gap of who they've been and who they're becoming. And so this is a very powerful chart. It tells you a lot about the soul of this individual. Okay. All right. So I have a reflection question. All right. I want to take a moment because we've just sat together and I kind of revealed to you some information about an individual soul. Whether or not this chart echoes with your chart, these placements, the language of this draconic system is inviting all of us to ask ourselves the same questions. And if you've been following with your chart and trying to feel out these things, my questions: what is my soul trying to express through my draconic sun, moon, and rising? Think about that. Where does my soul feel most at home? And how does my current path honor that? And in what way might I be resisting what my soul already remembers? All right. So just take a moment for yourselves and kind of take a little breath and listen. You've asked those questions. See if you can feel any answers. Is there a part of you that feels seen by your draconic chart by trying to find the answers to those questions? Think of a sense of deep recognition that you've got your soul nodding in agreement, that yes, you're seeing me. All right. The more you listen to your soul chart, the more it will speak through you. Okay. Because if you acknowledge it, it wants to expand and it wants to grow into this lifetime and to be seen. All right. So the more you listen to your soul's chart, the more it speaks to you. Okay. All right. I have come to the end of my first episode. If you love this and you're ready to go even deeper, the next episode, episode 2, is going to be called The Soul's Echo in Synastry. And I'm going to look at how soul to soul connections reveal themselves through draconic and tropical chart overlays, right? And how karmic relationships can reflect the echoes of love, of lessons, of shared lifetimes. And so, if the journey of this series is resonating with you, I would appreciate if you would like and subscribe, because I don't want you to miss a single step along the way with me. I'm hoping to have quite a few of these over the next few months. And remember, your soul wants to speak, and I want to show you how to listen. So let's keep listening together. All right. Thank you for joining me. And I hope that you return for the next episode.